Hello everyone and welcome to a very special pre-season episode of Diablo 3. Before we get started, I wanted to have a chance to talk through with you guys what the plan is for the season, because I don't very often talk about which direction I want the build to go in, and I have given some thought to this. So we're going to jump in with Rimeheart, one of our old barbarians, just so that I can talk through the bits and bobs. Now this season's barbarian build is going to be very different from anything that we've authentically tried before, in that we're going to be doing a Legacy of Nightmares combination Thorns and Rimeheart build. Right, let's run through our general skills first of all. So I've already got the skills set up here. Going for the defensive side. We've got Ignore Pain, which is going to have the Contempt for Weakness rune put into it. That's going to give us an emergency get out of any situation that we absolutely hate. 50% damage reduction, immunity to control impairing effects for 5 seconds, and an instant heal of 35%. That is... okay, fine. It's only 5 seconds that we've got the immunity for. Immunity to control impairing effects, that is, you know, frozen, stun, slow, all that kind of stuff. But being able to pop it every 30 seconds for a 35% heal is effectively another healing potion. It's not a particularly brilliant one, but it is a good emergency. War Cry is the next up. 30% dodge increase from the Veteran's Warning. Starts off lasting for 120 seconds. With Inspiring Presence, that's going to be doubled, so 240 seconds, pretty significant. That's every 4 minutes we can repop it, or we can pop it periodically for extra fury as and when we need it. And it's going to give us extra armor as well, but mostly the 30% dodge is the most important part of that. Battle Rage next. Costs 20 fury, so quite often popping that will immediately be followed by popping Battle Rage. Lasts for 120 seconds, that's going to be doubled as well to 240 seconds. And with Swords to Plowshares, critical hits will heal us for a significant amount of damage. Very, very much looking forward to that. Oh. And then finally, Wrath of the Berserker, which is going to be once in a blue moon, but it gives us 20 seconds of increased critical hit chance, increased attack speed, increased dodge chance. That's going to push it up to 50%. And additional movement speed. And with Insanity socketed into it, we're going to have 50% increased damage. Very, very much like that. Now, you'll notice that I don't have, whereabouts is it? Nerves of Steel in the passives. I'm assuming that this is going to be an Hellfire Amulet, so we can take Nerves of Steel as a written. Instead, we've got Tough as Nails. This is the Thorns-based build, so increasing Thorns by 100% is the most logical thing to do. Next up is Weapons Master. Our actual build is going to have a single mighty weapon and a shield, so we're going to be taking advantage of the extra fury per hit from Weapons Master to try and keep Whirlwind up as often as possible. Inspiring Presence is working for all of our shouts. That's going to be significant, and also the 3% regen is every single second for 120 seconds. That's just like a yes please, so much life coming back in. It'll only take us 30 seconds to fully regenerate, in addition to the other healing that we've got going on. And finally, Relentless. While below 35% life, all skills cost 50% less fury. That's Whirlwind, Rage, and all the other things that we're doing. Damage taken is reduced by 50%, and life per fury spent is doubled. So life per fury spent ends up being the same because skills cost less, so you end up spending less fury, you end up getting less life back. In theory, you end up getting the same life back as you would, but we take reduced damage, and obviously everything goes a little bit further. We've got Leap for getting into the middle of things, and with Call of Variat, that will draw everyone together, followed by Whirlwind Hurricane. Now we may end up swapping this over for any one of the others. If Call of Variat turns out to be not that useful once we get Whirlwind up to speed, because Whirlwind's pulling stuff in from 35 yards away, whereas Leap is pulling it in from, whereabouts is it? Call of Variat, that's 16 yards, they'll be pulled towards us. It ends up slowing the movement as well, so it might be worthwhile, but we'll try it and see how it goes. And that's what we're going to be doing with our skills. With our equipment, we're going to pop to Kanai's cube so that I can show it all off. The build is primarily revolving around Sanguinary Vambraces, over here on the right hand side. Chance on being hit to deal 1000% of your Thorns damage to nearby enemies. Now, the Legacy of Nightmares set, in fact, do I have one? Yes, I've got the Wailing Host here. So the Legacy of Nightmares set, for every ancient item that we've got, and there's 13 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 maximum. Every one will give 100% increased damage and reduced damage taken by 4%. The 100% increased damage, that's 1300% increased damage. And that is multiplicative with everything we do. So this, chance on being hit to deal 1000% of your Thorns damage, all of a sudden becomes 1.3 million% of your Thorns damage. So one Thorn damage will do 1.3 million damage, and Thorns damage is then scaled with our passives plus 100%, so that's now 2.6 million for just 1 point of Thorns damage. And we're not just going to have 1 point of Thorns damage. This build is based on Thorns, so we're going to go for the Heart of Iron. 300% of your vitality becomes Thorns. And we're going to have a hell of a lot of vitality. If you can imagine, our vitality on this character is 7,509. Times that by 300. Hell, even just times it by 100. So it becomes 75,000, and then 750,000. Then times it by 3. Yeah, we're getting a lot of Thorns damage just from that by itself. Jesus, that's actually kind of scary. We're planning on doing billions of damage with this Thorns damage. So that's Heart of Iron, Sanguinary Vambraces. We're going to go for Leoric's Crown up the top. Because we've got the Darkening of Tristram event, we're going to socket that with the new Soul Stone, I suspect. That does 12,500% weapon damage, which is also affected by the Legacy of Nightmares set. Once again, that's getting on to stupidly high amounts of damage if we get the build done correctly. So, Leoric's Crown... In fact, let's go from the top. Let's try and be logical about this. Leoric's Crown up here. Hellfire Amulet with the Nerves of Steel passive. Over here is going to be Deathwatch Mantle. Let's just bring that up very quickly. Deathwatch Mantle, there we go. 35% chance to explode for a round of knives for about 750 to 950% weapon damage when hit. We're going to get hit a lot. We're going to be doing a lot of just flaring around us, causing a ton of damage in addition to the Sanguinary Vambraces. That's going to be awesome. Now, because I mentioned it's going to be a Rimeheart build, we're going to have Rimeheart in the cube over there. I'll cover that a bit later. This Hurricane is a cold-based skill, so we're going to have Frostburn for our gloves. 20% increased damage on the Hurricane, that's awesome. And 50% chance to freeze enemies, which is amazing. That's so much freezing chance going on. And that's going to be very useful for when we get onto Rimeheart a bit later. For the belt, we're going to have Sash of Knives. Let's just bring that up. Every time we attack, we're going to be attacking a lot with the Whirlwind. We'll be throwing a dagger at nearby enemies for 650% weapon damage as physical. That's scaled by the Legacy of Nightmares as well. Well, everything we do is scaled by the Legacy of Nightmares. But it's worth pointing it out again because that's once again going to be up into the millions of damage before we even get onto the actual weapon damage.
I could go take care of
those. Okay, so I've already covered Sanguinary Vambraces. Wailing Host and Litany of the Undaunted are going to be our two rings. We're going to socket in the gem that does bleeding damage and increases attack speed based on bleeding. And the main reason we're going to be doing that is because our weapon is going to be Ambo's Pride. It's a one-handed mighty weapon, which has got like a 33% chance to inflict bleeding with every single hit. Those two combined are going to be pretty awesome. Our shield is going to be the Defender of Westmarch, if I bring that up. Blocks have a chance of summoning a Charging Wolf that deals 1000% of weapon damage to all enemies it passes through. That's also scaled by the by the Legacy of Nightmares. And they've just patched it so you can't have more than one wolf every second. If you end up blocking more than once, it just adds it on to the damage that the next wolf does. So we're going to have boom, 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 giant wolves charging out like bolts of lightning, charging through mobs and dealing a ton of damage as they go, in addition to the Deathwatch Mantle, in addition to the Sash of Knives, in addition to the Sanguinary Vambraces. Anyone attacks us, it's going to be a very bad day for them. We're going to have the hexing pants of Mr. Yan. Let's bring those up as our trousers. As long as we're moving, resource generation and damage is increased by 25%. We're going to be whirlwinding everywhere, so that's pretty much always going to be on. If we stop, it's not going to be, but, you know, that's kind of... We're not going to stop. The plan is to not stop. And also, yeah, so resource generation and damage up. And we're going to have Bojanglers down here for our boots. Now, these are the only boots that aren't that don't have a Q power. The reason we're picking those is because they can roll with increased whirlwind damage on them. Really, I could go for anything. I could go for ice climbers. I could go for illusory boots. I don't think most of those are needed, but we'll see how it goes. The boots is the only real open slot that I haven't specifically decided we're going to stick with Bojanglers. So in the cube, we're going to have Rimeheart. Let's bring that up over here just to show it off. 10% chance on hit to instantly deal 10,000% weapon damage as cold to enemies that are frozen. I've already shown with Frostburn we're going to be freezing mobs a lot. 10% chance isn't huge, 10,000% weapon damage is huge. That's going to be increased by the Legacy of Nightmares set. So once again, getting up into the millions and billions of damage is the plan. Now, the 10% chance is modified by the relevant proc coefficient of the skill. For Whirlwind, I think it's like 0.2, but we're hitting twice, at least for every regular attack that you would do, you end up hitting twice with Whirlwind. So it ends up being about 4% equivalent. But we're going to be getting our attack speed up and really plowing through mobs. So it'll be like... And if something's frozen, a 4% chance to hit, it will proc significantly enough for that to really help us out with our damage dealing. Mantle of Channeling is going to be our next thing. 25% increased damage. That's on all skills and Sanguinary Ram races and everything. So as long as we are whirlwinding, every bit of damage we do goes up. And we take 25% reduced damage, which is always nice. It's just going to be such a good combination. And because we're whirlwinding, Skull Grasp increases the whirlwind damage by 300%. So Whirlwind is going to be doing a significant amount of damage as we're going around. As long as we keep up our Fury, and between our shouts, our leaps, and everything else that's going on, we should be able to do that. I don't see us running into Fury problems. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be good fun. But most importantly, this is going to be very different to any other build that I've tried before, so I'm very excited to see how it pans out. As well as going for the one that does bleeding. In fact, what have I got in here? Do I actually, there it is. No, it's not that one. It's not the Moratorium. Yeah, this is, of course, the non-season... Oh wow, Rift Keystone Fragments. Huh. It's been a very long time since I've logged into my non-season character stash. So we're going to have the one that does bleeding damage. That also increases our attack speed for every bleeding mob nearby. With Whirlwind, touching everything nearby, 33% chance to inflict bleeding on them. In theory, our attack speed is going to skyrocket. We're also going to have probably Bane of the Trapped, because that's a flat damage increase to everything nearby. We're going to be hurting everything nearby with Sanguinary Ram races anyway, so that also makes sense. Finally, we'll probably go for Bane of the Stricken, although the last one is kind of up in flux. But I am going to put a link in the description of the video below so that you can have a look at the build and maybe have a little play around with it yourself. I'm very excited to see how this pans out. The season starts tomorrow. I'm not going to have a chance to record an episode tomorrow, so probably my first episode is going to be on Saturday morning. It might even be Sunday morning, depending on how real life pans out. We're going to be starting off with the Darkening of Tristram event. If I bring up the achievements, general achievements, special events, we have to go all the way through, starting with a level 1 character, the entire event. And we get a pet for doing that. So we're going to start off with that and see how far we get with a level 1 Barbarian. So I do hope you're as excited as I am for this. Join me again as we start Season 9. See you soon.